which, perhaps we'll be, worshiping God in heaven, and they'll be playing echoes of this episode.
Probably.
That kind of eternity.
Yeah.
The Seraphim are going to be face palming, watching. Really? We gotta watch more of this. Yeah.
The Seraphim are going to be like, "Hey, Jeff, can you see your reflection in your hand?" Whack, and they're going to hit me. That's what you get for that stupid comment.
They'll bully you in heaven.
It's heroic
6
bullying.
times in a row.
Yes. There you go. All right. Well, if you didn't get any of that humor, go back and read the Bible.
Revelation would really help. That or Daniel, probably.
Dial it in.
Maybe Ezekiel.
Somebody told me, y'all need to chill out on the extremely hard references to catch. And I'm like, we're the Gilmore Girls of the Catholic Church. Keep up with it.
You are the only one who decided we're going to call ourselves that.
We do not claim that, Jeff.
BeatiDudes! That's right. TGTLIF. Thank the good Lord it's Friday. I think I did that right if my dyslexia didn't kick in. Welcome to the BeatiDudes, a podcast for Christian men seeking to grow in holiness, learning from and with each other, walking arm in arm on the way to eternity with the Trinity through fraternity. My name is Paul Kolker, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Jeff Schiefelbein.
Iken has cheeseburger.
Nice.
Do you remember that one?
It's a throwback, but yes. And Nick Bezner.
It's Friday.
Another throwback. Wow. And now that's stuck in your heads for the rest of the day. Good luck with that.
Fun.
No,
fun.
Stop. Looking forward to the weekend. Anyway, yes, but
Iken has absolution.
Oh my gosh. But yes, we're back for another fun, faith-filled episode. If you didn't catch the Monday episode with Kurt Klement talking about all things evangelization, divine renovation, changing parish culture, all kinds of incredible stuff, and just good little morsels and nuggets in that episode. So if you missed that, please go back, watch it, share it with a friend. They've got some great coaching resources for priests. So, if you want to passive aggressively send one along to your... No, I'm just kidding. Didn't
it feel like we were in the kitchen with a chef, watching him work when he was going through all this?
He was just pulling out quotes and Greek versions of Bible words.
Yes,
and
hinge verbs. He was a polite Gordon Ramsay. Yes. Is what he was. But yeah, welcome.
And he spoke English.
Not once did he call me an idiot sandwich, which would have been appropriate.
But welcome back, Kurt Klement.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Great to have you here. Kurt, you told us a lot about what you kind of learned along the way with St. Anne's and starting in youth ministry and stealing ideas from your wife and all kinds of... That's a teaser. Go back and watch Monday if you missed that. But you said that you learned a lot along the way that maybe you didn't think could be taught, or you thought maybe was just kind of a baked-in quality. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I remember in 2016, I actually have a bad memory. It was May 2016. I remember this because I have a book where a note was written in it from a guy at St. Anne's, Carlos Lopez, who came to me one time and he's very affirming, I see in you great leadership, but I think you have opportunities to grow. And he gave me a book that was called Developing the Leader Within You by John Maxwell.
Oh, yeah.
And, something shifted in me when I, got that. I for some reason, I was receptive differently than I had previously. Now, I never really had an affinity towards leadership stuff. When I was in high school, my mom was always like, go be in the Key Club, go do something. And I was like,
do something.
I was like marshmallows floating on hot chocolate. I was just easygoing, happy-go-lucky, chill. I didn't lead anything. I just sort of rolled with it.
Don't just do something, stand there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then I went to college, and I started to maybe have some ways I see people maybe look up to me or influence. I could sense maybe I became the rush chairman for my fraternity twice.
Wow.
So I started okay, I have certain things, but I still never really connected with any sort of identity as a leader. Well, then, as I mentioned on the Monday episode, I talked about my journey to become a youth minister at St. Anne. Next thing you know, I'm standing in front of a room with 500 teenagers, and I got a team of 50 adults who are all looking to me, and I'm having to go, and stand before a church of probably 6,000 people at the time. Yeah. and I'm in this massive leadership position. Although I was just winging it, I mean, and obviously amidst all that, I would say I was winging it and learning in my own sort of intuitive way. But at the same time, I had massive blind spots around sort of the impact that I had on people in different ways that I was very like dismissive about, a bull in a china shop, because I'm like passionate for ideas. I'm like apostolic. Let's go. Let's charge the next hill. Well, how people experienced me, I don't know. I just was like, this is me,
You didn't think about it so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started like having, I would say, a conversion. Well, and the other thing about what changed though is, it's a part of the story is working in the Catholic Church. I would say, okay, first personally, I had my own, it was on me. I was dismissive of leadership. The church is different. They're spiritual, it's ministry, like all that leadership, businessy stuff.
CEO stuff.
Don't bring your business stuff here into the church. So there's a dismissiveness that I had towards this whole genre of leadership, books, podcasts, and all sorts of things. And the other thing I would say is in the institution of the church, leadership just, it was not a thing. I mean, we hear often about priests aren't taught leadership in seminary, but for a layman coming in, being put in front of thousands of people, managing a big budget and lots of people, having influence on a lot of people, the word leadership never came up once from a superior, a supervisor, anything that was like, I want to help you grow, develop, become a better leader. Well, that changed, I would say, in May of 2016, that I started to sort of open myself up to this whole genre of leadership, and could not have been more like what I feel like opened up for me was really understanding leadership is about how to love people well, how to serve people well. I think one of the big, I would say, conversions in a leader's heart is when they start to take seriously not just their intent but their impact. When you're humble enough to just really listen and take seriously the impact you have on other people, that was for me. So I started, I would say, mature as a leader, and then kind of go on this journey of trying to not be a hero but a hero maker. I became really passionate about like raising up and sort of being in the shadows more and letting others flourish. So it just, this whole world of leadership opened up for me. That's been a huge part of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
I love what you just said about the way you impact people. The words that were used for me a long time ago that changed my world was, you're responsible for the delivery and the receipt of what you're communicating. And I was like, how? And then the more you wrestle with it, the more you're like, oh, I get it. Like, I don't actually get to control how you feel. But if I don't have any concern for that impact, then I'm not truly owning the leadership that I'm called to give in that communication, that presence, that even that listening, right? The delivery and the receipt.
No, that I love that summary of it. Without knowing those words, I think that's what I started to realize when I was a teacher for 4 years at Jesuit, was that there were certain teachers who thought, if I just if I just speak the words of the math equations out to the class, I have communicated it, and therefore it's their job now to learn it and receive it, and all of that. And I heard that complaint from students, and so I tried to. I mean, it took me a year or two to start to like shape what that actually looked like, but I knew I wanted it to land with them in a way that they could receive it with me sort of being the mama bird, pre-digesting the stuff, right? Like being able to pass it along in a way that's easy for them to actually get bite sizes of the information.
From now on, Professor Kolker is going to be your mama bird.
I didn't ever introduce myself that way, but it's just cool to hear you guys discussing this, because I didn't realize at the time that is what I was intuiting, I guess, or trying to tune into then adjust.
When you're at the school, do you think the different, maybe this is a leading question, but like there's some temperaments that can own that responsibility a lot easier, in my view, than others. Like there's some people that their temperament is such like, I told you, I already said that, and they struggle for empathy, but they're not wrong. They did they did factually tell you.
Right.
They maybe also are less likely to be emotional in the receipt of something else, like you told me. It can be like a good thing in a kind of double-edged sword.
Yeah, and you do need all types, I think, in an organization, which is probably what you had to figure out how to navigate, Kurt. Like, well, this person maybe needs to hear this a certain way, or I need to deliver this at a certain time versus others. I mean, not that you can always get it exactly right, not that you can make it tailor-made for every single person, but I'm sure those were the kinds of things you were having to tweak or adjust to. Is that fair?
Yeah, part of it's a big part of leadership to me is kind of self-leadership, becoming aware of how God made you. Like leadership isn't a one-size-fits-all. Like everybody's got a unique leadership DNA, and so what are the unique gifts how God wants me to lead out of my gifts, but also my blind spots, and then coming along and serving other people and helping to empower the gifts in them, and to how to create teams where you're balancing and bringing gifts to bear. So leadership's such a big word, Sure. I mean, still, I find it interesting to hear what are the books and podcasts that people listen to. I heard somebody say there was a study, they interviewed 140 CEOs about how they define leadership, and they got 140 different answers.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
It's a big word for sure, but it's so much. I mean, I think it fits within our faith. Most of the best leadership gurus are like Christian pastors. Yep. It's a particular, if you think about Christian discipleship, this sort of umbrella of the journey of maturing as a disciple. Leadership is that sliver, I feel like, that's about how we empower others. It's the art of empowering and raising up the gifts of other people. To me, that's the real crux of leadership. But there's lots of definitions.
Well, I mean, you look at military leadership, right? Or even, Catholic hierarchy leadership, right? The whole idea is that you're kind of picking from among your own ranks as to who gets elevated to the next position, right? Or to the next leadership position. And so, in the best case scenario, you really should be empowering people to flourish, and then seeing who flourishes the best under fire, and then promoting those people. I mean, ideally, right? Like that's kind of the way it's supposed to shake out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kurt. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the one thing, that book, John Maxwell book, Developing Leader Within You, he talks about different levels of leadership. And the lowest level is positional leadership. You do it because I'm your boss and you have to, and it's a reality, right? I mean, you need to move fast, but sometimes within the institution of the church, we lean too much out of and live out of positional leadership versus leadership that's influence, where people do it because they want to, because they respect you, because they've caught the vision. There's a lot beyond just positional leadership.
For
which
sure.
Oftentimes I'm coming in my new parish and I'm going to do this because I can, and that can be a long term, I think, undermine your long-term leadership effectiveness or fruitfulness.
Well, yeah, especially if you're talking about teams, right? You want teams to share the vision, and that takes time to cultivate.
Yeah, absolutely.
The breakthrough for me was taking all the gospel teachings of Christ as expressed through the Catholic Church, right? In encyclicals and in the writings and reflections of JP2, Rerum Novarum, if you want to go back to Leo XIII. And then you package it together and realize the Catholic social teachings from a business perspective is like the greatest blueprint of leadership. It's human dignity. It's having a view of our work is to serve the common good. It's giving people true subsidiarity so that you are forming the human person in work, not in, my way is the right way and you need to do it this way. It's like the formation of the person is why work exists. And then you start to go into this like stewardship of, we're a good steward of the resources we have. We're good citizens and in solidarity with the people that are disadvantaged around us. Like this all just becomes this Judeo-Christian walkthrough of leadership. And then you get all the way down to human dignity, justice, just wages. And you're like, oh, like, I guess you don't really have to recreate it. You could, and people like Maxwell do this all the time. They're literally taking the Bible and gospel teachings. And if you're a Catholic, you throw in all the other teachings that happen outside of the Bible, and it packages up to be one heck of a leadership journey.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Like sometimes when you're talking about leading in a parish, Sometimes priests, their shepherding hearts have been formed to this idea that they need to be available to shepherd the whole flock equally. Sometimes we'll hold up, well, the Jesus model is, the 12, of course. I mean, there were the crowds, but he actually had 12. Yep. Oh, and there actually were 3, Peter, James, and John, that he seemed to have even spent a disproportionate amount of time to, 3 of the 12. And then there were the 72 that were seemed to be gathered and commissioned and sent out. And then the crowds. And when you talk about that sort of paradigm, it's kind of mind-blowing, I think, because it seems very basic, but that's not, so it'd be a biblical principle. Yeah. Well, and then you take it, like I remember at St. Anne when we were going with DR about our structure, then it's taking it and kind of flipping it upside down and saying, oh yeah, Father Henry, you're at the bottom. And it's about not who's it's who's supporting who. How are you investing in them? How's everybody in the organization tethered so that everybody has somebody investing in them? Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest changes in my leadership, was when I committed to weekly one-on-ones. And I learned to really try to have really effective one-on-ones with people where I really I care about them. How are you doing? How's your prayer life? What are you working on this week? How can I support you? I mean, really learning how to have one-on-ones was an absolute game changer.
Coaching the human person, not coaching the output. Yeah. Like that person matters. The output is a result.
Yeah.
I love it. This is like
so much to learn.
It's my favorite thing in the world to talk about. What books since the Maxwell book, if any, or resources have also jumped out at you as being just something that maybe you would go back to or that you have suggested others, or is it, you started that process and you're down that path?
Yeah. Craig Rochelle, I don't know if you ever listened to his. I was listening to him once. Craig Rochelle, he's a heavyweight. He's a pastor. He had one about asking good questions recently.
Oh, cool.
27 questions that great leaders ask. So it's all about how to be curious and really love people well and really be curious. So that was one. There's a group of like Craig Rochelle. Carey Nieuwhof is another podcaster who's had a huge influence on me over the years, for sure.
It's funny because on the BeatiDudes, the number one question we ask is, why did you come on here?
Why did you
Why are
agree
you
to this?
here?
Great leadership question.
We're just 3 guys that would sit around this table anyways, and then you show up, we're like, cool, press the record button. No, we're grateful to have you here, man. This is
great
a blessing.
to be with you guys. Super. I always love seeing you guys in the pews, and always wish we could chat more, and we are now. So good to be here.
It's captured for eternity.
There you go.
Which, perhaps will be, worshiping God in heaven, and they'll be playing echoes of this episode.
Probably.
That kind of eternity.
Yeah.
The Seraphim are going to be face palming, watching. Really? We gotta watch more of this. Yeah.
The Seraphim are going to be like, hey, Jeff, can you see your reflection in your hand? Whack! And they're going to hit me. That's what you get for that stupid comment.
They'll bully you in heaven.
It's loving. It's heroic
6
bullying.
times in a row.
Yes. There you go. All right. Well, if you didn't get any of that humor, go back and read the Bible.
Revelation would really help. That or Daniel, probably.
Dial it in.
Maybe Ezekiel.
Somebody told me, y'all need to chill out on the extremely hard references to catch. And I'm like, we're the Gilmore Girls of the Catholic Church. Keep up with it.
You are the only one who decided we're going to call ourselves that.
We do not claim that, Jeff.
Do I need to watch the Gilmore Girls?
Apparently, we all do.
I've never watched.
Jeff's,
okay. Don't worry about it.
Jeff's all about it.
Okay.
You just got the whole gist of it in one sentence.
Yeah, Jeff named one of his children after the show, after a girl in the show.
I named her Girl.
Not Gilmore. Hi, my name's Gilmer. Gilmer Schiefelbein.
Gilmore Girl Schiefelbein. Okay, Kurt, what a blessing. How do we find, we never said this on the other episode, we'll put it in the show notes, how do we find Divine Renovation online?
Yeah, divinerenovation.org. Actually, there's a webinar on Friday.
This Friday?
That's with Monsignor Shea and Father James Mallon, all about leading parishes in an apostolic
Where can
age.
someone find that recording?
Yeah, because this is coming out in 6 weeks. There's future webinars coming too.
Divine Renovation YouTube channel. So yes,
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, look up Divine Renovation on YouTube right after this episode, in fact, because you're already here. But if you're listening to the audio only version, go find it. But for the rest of you, we will see you on YouTube, and then we will see you
in the Eucharist.
God bless.
God bless.
Going south.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @ that's the symbol @ so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @ the _ BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.